We're going to go ahead and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Welcome, everybody. September 10th, regular scheduled board meeting. Secretary Summers, do you mind doing attendance?
Yep. Dr. Reese,
Present.
McDonough,
Here.
Summers here, Whitney,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Atchison,
Here.
Aldred.
Here.
Great. Item number 2 on the agenda is changes to the board agenda. I have none. I'm assuming I didn't hear any noise about anything else. Great. All right. Item number 3 on the agenda, school presentations. Mr. McDevitt, welcome. Leonard Elementary.
Glad I could be here tonight. I'm Paul McDevitt. I'm the principal at Leonard Elementary. And today we are going to talk about some of our goals for this year that we have at our wonderful school. Some of the things that we're looking at on academic is some of our Tier 1 learning in the classroom. Tier 1 is teaching and learning that happens for all students every day. We're looking at continuing on with our PBIS implementation and looking at some ways to improve attendance. Analyzing academic data, including MSTEP, led us to see that we need to focus on Tier 1. We saw a lot of pros and cons. Some of the things that are really impressive is the work that has been happening with our interventions. The small group interventions and what we call our win time has really shown a lot of positive growth in those students. So now we're turning our focus, now that we see that that part's working, into our Tier 1 of what's happening with all the kids that are in the interventions and are not in the interventions, and how can we get the whole group to move forward as one as well. Some of the ways that we want to do this is through implementation integrity, which is just making sure that the written curriculum is the taught curriculum. To do this, we want to make sure that all of our teaching staff are in alignment with our instructional playbook. Our instructional playbook has been something that we've had for several years. It's basically our essential agreements and our commitments for our elementary instruction. Our principal labs. Principal labs this year is the elementary principals will be working with Oakland schools to learn and develop look-fors and instructional leadership strategies as we do our observations, walkthroughs, and informals. Shifting the Balance. Shifting the Balance course is a 12-week course that we started at the beginning of the summer that all the elementary principals are working their way through. And this is a course designed at understanding philosophy and instructional strategies in elementary literacy. MobyMax. Data-driven small group instruction labs with Advancing Literacy. Advancing Literacy will be working with our teachers in small grade level groups to work on looking at data and improving instruction in small groups at grade levels. MobyMax we've talked a little bit about in the past, but I want to just remind everybody that it's an online platform and it can be used to identify and close gaps in prior knowledge base. We use this primarily as a Tier 1 instruction in math because it's not necessarily what's being taught in the curriculum, but it helps build that prior knowledge and that base of knowledge that may have gaps in it. And it is like I said, a web-based program that can identify that. We used it last year, and this year we hope to really get it part of our routines and use it with fidelity every single day in our Tier 1. Our 4th and 5th grade teachers at Leonard along with other teachers across the district, will be piloting an upper elementary phonics word study program. Studies have shown that upper elementary grades still benefit from practice and growth in phonics. Phonics is learning to recognize written letters and sounds, put them together as words, and we'll be doing this in the upper L with more complex vocabulary. This aids in fluency, which aids in comprehension. Our PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Support System. We're going to continue building on our successes we had last year as we implemented this. This year we had a really fun assembly at the very beginning of the year to reinforce all of the PBIS ideals. We had Basketball Jones out with the whole school, a very interactive, fun assembly. The kids had a great time. Last year we developed lesson plans and posters. This year we're working on improving those lesson plans and making them easier for teachers to deliver and more impactful for the kids. The areas of the school that the lesson plans go along with are such like cafeteria, recess, hallways, restrooms, etc. We started a learner profile student of the month that we announced at assemblies. Those kids are then invited later on that month to a special something special with the principal. Mostly it was breakfast with the principal, but sometimes we did popsicles, sometimes we did hot cocoa. It was always something, though, for the month that was fun for the kids to do. Pride tickets. We started Pride tickets last year for prizes that we do a drawing at the end of each week. Kids are always excited about that. And to be honest with you, it's not even so much the prizes that they win. So I don't want people to get confused that PBIS is about, like, if I'm good, I get a prize. It's the pride that comes with the ticket that they got, the acknowledgement that they had good behavior. And that's what I see in the hallway most of the time is, Mr. McDevitt, look what I got. It's not even caring about the prize down the road that they could win. It's the fact that they got the ticket. And I think that's important to know. This year we want to expand on that because looking at our data, we saw that there is still areas that needed improvement. And they're your typical areas like recess, lunchroom, specials classes. So we wanted to think of how can we do something different to address those areas. So we came up with special lunchroom drawings that are drawn right in the lunchroom while it's going on at the end of each lunch, so kids can have immediate gratification for something that they did well in the lunchroom, and all the kids can see that as well. We started a fun program this year that we're looking forward to call our Specials Collection. And each specials teacher, art, music, PE, what am I missing? Spanish, and also recess. We have those 5 areas that all have their own special shape and color ticket that the kids can win. And it's kind of like a Pokemon game. You want to collect all 5. If you can collect all 5 throughout the year, you win some special grand prize that is even better than the daily ticket. So it's kind of like a fun game to try to collect them all. We're going to continue with our monthly assemblies. We also looked at our school culture survey, the school climate survey data, and looking at that, we saw that we needed to improve communication around student discipline, and this was true with both parents and with staff. So our action step, we got together with our PBIS committee and worked over the summer to develop a document to help address some of this. Now, it's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to have to kind of talk you through some of it. But basically, we wanted to make sure staff understood what types of behaviors would be typical handled in the classroom and what types would be more office-related so that there was no confusion about that. And also understanding that a Tier 1 behavior repeated over and over and over can become a Tier 2 and then into a Tier 3 if it isn't remedied. We also wanted to include some things for teachers for proactive strategies and things to think about and consider before initiating consequences. But we also wanted to make sure that there was not confusion with what are the responses to certain behaviors. And so we included types of Tier 1 responses, Tier 2, Tier 3, and then of course your immediate Tier 3, which we want staff to be very aware of. These would be handled immediately in the office. We developed a student reflection sheet. Now, this is meant to be worked on with both staff member and student together collaboratively to talk, to have a conversation about what the behavior was, how it impacted themselves and others, and what do they think they need to do to make it right. It's also a way for us to collect data on students throughout the year with behaviors and where they're happening and who it is and how we're handling it. Another one of our goals was to improve attendance. Now, attendance hasn't been a huge issue out at Leonard, but we do have pockets of students who have attendance issues that we want to address. The most important thing we felt we could do, this is as the PBIS committee when we worked on this, was making sure that we build school and classroom community. Now, this is done through a variety of ways. One of the most important ways is staff are in the lobby every morning as students walk in, and we greet the students every single morning by name. Teachers are at their doors, standing outside their doors, greeting students with, some of them have different, like they have 3 choices, high five, elbow bump, fist pound, whatever it might be, that there's like 3 choices the kids make as they walk in with the teacher. So there's lots of different ways, but we want to make sure that that happens every single morning so that no kid walks into school and not being addressed by an adult when they come in. Another way we build classroom community is, and you can see in this picture, making sure we have check-ins and check-outs in different ways. We use restorative circles and just circles in general to really improve communication and a sense of belonging in the classroom and that classroom family. Now, working with the family school liaison, we were talking about attendance, and he wanted to implement a process where each week we run a report, and any student who has reached 5, we're going to receive a personal phone call to the parent to see if everything is okay, how are we doing, is there anything that we need to do as a school. We'll continue with the policy and the letters being sent home. And at 10, they'll get a personal phone call from me. And at this point, we'll start asking, do the parents need help? Because sometimes it's, sickness, a broken arm, a family trip and things like that. But there's other times where parents just are struggling trying to get their kid to come to school. There's anxiety, there's other issues there, and maybe they need help with that. And we have resources for that, and they might not know it. So we want to make sure that we can develop a plan with the family that can address any barriers that they might be having with getting their child to school. We're also going to try to go back to doing a better job of providing learning experiences during absences. This kind of faded away a little bit during the pandemic when kids were out for an extended period of time all the time, and the school was, sometimes in session, sometimes not, and it was very difficult to manage all of this. But we want to get back to when a student's absent or the family saying they're going on a trip or they're going to be sick for a few days, that we provide learning experiences for the kids to do at home, whether it's a packet of work, the math journal, letting them know what math pages to work on, whether it's digital resources through Schoology or MobyMax or something along those lines. We want to make sure that there's opportunities for the kids to stay caught up so that they don't come in wondering what's going on and feeling behind, because that just leads to more anxiety sometimes. Most importantly, the last thing on there is we need to make school fun. That is what's going to get the kids in the door. That's going to get the kids to want to come to school. Hopefully that's our way of also alleviating any anxiety they have, is this is somewhere where they want to be, they feel safe, they feel like it's a fun place. Some of the ways to do that with our students is our PBIS program. That's all about positive behavior support. It's about making school feel a fun place to be, even when you make mistakes, learning from those in a positive way. Continuing with our Student of the Month celebrations, the Breakfast with the Principal, some of our assemblies, classroom activities, parties, celebrations, field trips, guest speakers. Leo, our therapy dog, coming into the classrooms. The kids love him. Of course, in order to have happy students, we have to have happy staff. So we want to make sure that we're doing things for them as well to keep them feeling like coming to work every day is a wonderful place to be. Teacher Appreciation Week, Support Staff Appreciation Lunch, Bus Driver Appreciation Breakfast, Noon Aid Appreciation Lunch. These are all things that we do out at Leonard to make sure every single staff member out there has a time where they're appreciated. One of the things we are working on this year, and we have our first meeting tomorrow, is last year when I was here at the board meeting presenting, we talked about our 5th grade kindergarten mentor program and how our 5th graders work with our kindergartners in the first week of school on taking them to lunch, taking them to recess, taking them around the school, making sure that the kids had somebody that was a smiling face, a friendly face in the student body with them. And that was great. And we still did that this year. We did that with the kindergartners, but we wanted to expand on that. Instead of just being the first week of school and maybe a couple, reading buddies throughout the year. We wanted to make it a real mentorship program. So we went to a community program that specializes in mentoring in 42 Strong. And we started working with them. I started talking with them to develop ideas on how we can make this program something more than just fifth graders taking kindergartner's lunch in the first week. So we have activities planned throughout the year where kids from the high school are going to come down. They've made some videos and stuff, and they're really excited about working with the kids to talk to them about what being a mentor it really is and how to make it sustainable, and helping those fifth graders learn more about themselves as leaders, and also helping the kindergartners understand what it is to be a mentee and how that works and what they can expect out of their mentor. So we're really excited about turning this program into a lot more than what it once was. So with that, we're just looking forward to a great year at Leonard Elementary. You have any questions for me? I'm open.
Great. Move to my board mates first.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, I had a quick one. Can you talk a little bit more about the upper elementary phonics program that you're piloting this year? Why just fourth and fifth? What?
Oh, no, it's across all the grade levels across the district. We are piloting an upper elementary, because phonics typically is a heavy focus in K1, 2. But studies have shown that kids in 3, 4, 5 also need that reinforcement with phonics in more complex words too, to be able to decode and build their vocabulary and build their fluency, because learning to read is like listening to talking, listening to language. So our fourth and fifth grade teachers are part of the pilot group. There's third grade teachers as well across the district, and I'm sure.
Sorry.
It's okay. So actually, it's a pilot across the district in third, fourth, and fifth grade. It's specifically just for upper elementary. We already have a phonics program in DK2, and we have a phonemic awareness program in lower L. The current program that we're using, Words Their Way, is, I think, falling a little bit short for our needs. And so the teachers that are piloting, we have 12 total across the district, and Paul just happens to have all of his fourth and all of his fifth that volunteered to pilot the program. But it's a decently structured, high volume phonics program that's, well, there's phonics aspects to it, but also word study aspects like prefixes, suffixes, root words, a lot of morphology, multisyllabic words in it. It's essentially a lot of what we've been putting together in one program, so it's in one place for teachers. So we're going to be piloting pretty long through the end of January, and with teacher feedback along the way, and then we can assess if that's something we want to move forward with, and then if we do, we would bring it forth to the board.
Okay. What was the name of it?
Core Phonics, and it's
Core.
through 95% group.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Great job, Mr. McDevitt.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing more about it when you come next. Great. Item number 4 on the agenda is scheduled public comment. I did not personally receive any. Did you, Kelly? Okay. Item number 5 on the consent agenda are the meeting minutes from the August 27th regularly scheduled board meeting and our human resource update. I'll take a motion to approve. Amanda,
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
do I have support? Mike Aldred? And then any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item number 6, superintendent's report. Dr. Milligan.
All right, good evening, everybody. Couple of things before I share a presentation regarding the summer experiences our students had. First is I want to share that the presentation that Anita Conja-Collins is going to share tonight regarding the CAB committee. We are going to run a similar selection program for our safety committee or parent safety advisory committee to expand that. So I wanted to put that out ahead of time so that when you hear about the process, you'll have a better understanding of how we'll go about expanding that parent group. And again, thank you to all of our parents who've been serving on that group. We appreciate your time, your effort, and your insight. On the agenda tonight, we're going to be approving several field trips. I do want to say one of the field trips is a short notice. That's on us. We typically want to have a 4-week ahead of time presentation. However, this one is going to be only 2 weeks away, so we are going to need to approve that tonight. However, we did work with our ad team today to review the field trip policy and the process so that we can avoid that situation in the future. So I appreciate your consideration. The third thing before my summer engagement presentation is I would like to recognize Dr. Williman. Where is Dr. Williman? Over there, Dr. Williman. Dr. Williman was invited to travel to Washington, D.C. to take part as a panelist for the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medication and National Threat Assessment Center, K-12 Behavioral Threat Assessment Efficacy and Implementation Evaluation Research. That's a mouthful. That's a long title, but she was invited to be a part of several panels. And the first panel was implementing behavioral threat assessment perspectives from K-12 educators and administrators. And the second panel was behavioral threat assessment within a system of prevention, situating threat assessment within a system of prevention. So Dr. Williman indicated that it was an incredible learning opportunity and experience to collaborate with experts across the country and share our systems and experiences post-tragedy. She received positive feedback about the sustainability of our systems here in Oxford and how our processes will help other districts build their safety departments. So congratulations and thank you, Dr. Williman. All right, Aaron. All right, so I've talked about our summer engagement opportunities and just how impressed I was this summer because, as I said, I was here, there, and everywhere and had a chance to see so many of our students. Parents commented on how wonderful the summer opportunities were. So I thought it'd be great to showcase these opportunities. Schooling for us in Oxford and many other districts doesn't stop when the 9 months of school stop, right? We do all sorts of learning opportunities during the summer. And so I wanted to make sure we showcase those tonight and celebrated those accomplishments, right? So we'll start with our summer camp care at OELC. And Rob is in the audience, does a wonderful job with our little ones. So we had a total of, oh wait, I do have the clicker. There it is. Aaron, see what happens when you give me control? Bad things. We had a total of 178 students, infant to 5th grade, attend our summer camp care at OELC. I had a chance to see these adorable little ones during the library reading. We also had, in addition to that, they had opportunities to do robotics with the high school team. They got treats. Who doesn't love treats from the ice cream truck? Penny, I know you guys love DA's Penny therapy dog. She is adorable. Community helpers and big trucks, archery, and inflatables from Oakland County Park. So they stayed very, very busy this summer, which is important for the littles. For summer school and credit recovery, summer school for students seated in elementary and middle school, 189. These were grant-funded opportunities for students to stay on top of their learning. And then we had 31 students at OVA Elementary, And then we had 165 courses of credit recovery at OHS and OVA. And the reason why this is important is that in order to graduate, students have to have a certain number of credits. Sometimes for a variety of reasons, students get behind in their credit attainment. So their getting on track over the summer is really helpful for them to matriculate on time and graduate on time. We know that ninth graders who do not matriculate with their peers are 3 times more likely to not graduate from high school. So that credit attainment number over the summer is really important. In addition, I really like the way that we do the credit recovery. The families do need to pay in advance for the credit. And then when the student accomplishes that credit, they get reimbursed for that, which provides a level of motivation that sometimes our high schoolers need. So I appreciate that structure. We had multiple reading and math engagement as well as GRASP in the elementary. This is funded through 31A, which is funding for at-risk youth, and essentially looking at fun with math and reading. We had a total of 196 students in GRASP, and GRASP is a program that refreshes learning from the previous year. As you know, summer slide is a real thing in math and reading, so it keeps them on top of that material, so they start the year ready to build on that. And then we had 200 plus students in reading and math engagement, and that's just having fun with reading and math. Math games and skill building, bubbles and books. Who doesn't want to be a part of that? Bubbles and books. Book clubs, read alouds, word games, authors and art. So lots of fun, engaging work around learning. Lakeville sent us all these fabulous pictures of their students during their math and reading engagement. And then Leonard also sent some really fun pictures. I was there the day that they started that program, and the kids were so excited, as were the parents. So those are 2 really great programs. Jumpstart Lego, Lego and STEM for elementary. The Jumpstart is a program that gets kids thinking about school, prepared for school, to reduce that anxiety, as well as make those connections so that there's people they know when they start back into school. And then, of course, the Lego and STEM elementary, I was able to go to OES and see some of that work and talk about excitement. Kids were so excited to build and learn and get that engineering brain going. So that was really fun to see. So we had a total of 138 students take advantage of that. Summer feeding program, as I've said before, we have the absolute best food services. I know firsthand just by eating all of it this summer, so it was great. We served a total of 12,814 meals at OES and Lakeville. 4,742 of that was breakfast served, and 8,772 was for lunch. And again, it's a resource that our families very much appreciated. And then we had our summer events. We had 3 really fun student events. The first one was the Reptarium animal show. That is actually a bearded dragon that I'm holding there. He was awesome. We had quite a few students attend that and learn all about reptiles. And then we had our parking lot party. We had lots of inflatables and, of course, pizza. That was great. And then I think I've mentioned the movie night. A large crowd there for the movie night. The food was donated from the local restaurants. And we had total of these events was over 400 attendees. So again, a wonderful opportunity over the summer for students to engage. And of course, we could not do this without our staff. Our staff, of course, dedicate their time during the summer to engage students, and we appreciate them significantly. So thank you to the staff, thank you to the families for participating, and for the community for supporting these events. Okay, awesome. And that concludes.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? No? I think the summer events are really great. All right. Moving on to the next agenda item, Board of Education matters. The first item is our OHS Fall Theater Camp Field Trip. Krista Price and John Schmidt. I thought I saw them walk in. Yes, wonderful. You can stand over there if you want. It's up to you.
They presented last time. They're here for just kids.
Oh, they did? Oh, okay. Sorry. I wasn't here. I was absent. I didn't get the joke. Sorry. A little delayed. I was flight grounded in Chicago because of those storms. All right. So does anybody have questions after reviewing the last couple weeks? All right, then great. Get a motion then. James?
Move to approve the OHS Fall Theater Camp Field Trip for October 5th through the 8th, 2024, as presented.
Do I have support? Amanda? Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Have a great trip.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sorry about that awkwardness.
That's okay, yeah.
My fault. All right, next item on the agenda, which I believe was also presented last week, or last time too, and I should know this and I apologize. 8th grade field trip to DC. I do know that there was other questions. I think they all got answered. So if you guys feel comfortable, I'll take a motion to approve that. Colleen?
Move to approve the OMS 8th grade field trip to Washington, D.C., November 16th through the 20th, 2024, as presented.
All right, Mike Aldred for support. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, this one's the presentation, right? Clear Lake 5th grade camp.
She's going to speak to it.
Mrs. Nemi.
Hi, good evening. So I'm here to speak to our annual 5th grade camp, and the dates are September 19th and the 20th. So at Clear Lake, we do spend overnight one evening. So that is why I'm here in front of you. So we do apologize for learning also with the field trip permission slips on how that all runs. And so we'll make sure that we're on the docket a little bit sooner for the next year. But we have started going in the fall over the last few years. We've really found that the fall, one, the weather typically is much better than when we had been waiting in the spring. And also we just really look at it as a way to continue to build that community right out the gate. So when you talk to 5th graders about what is something you really remember about 5th grade, they always talk about camp. So we love over the last few years how they all come in, and then very quickly in September, we're all going to camp, and they can have that shared experience that then they can carry on, build those friendships. There's over 9 activities that the kids participate in over the 2 days. There's things like team building. They're getting to do things where, we always try to connect also with the learner profile, so being that risk taker. So they're trying new experiences like the rock wall, the zip line. I can say I tell the kids when I go to the first time I ever did this, I was super nervous, but I'm so excited when I got to do it. And then it was so fun because the kids cheered for me, and other kids will cheer for each other. So again, it's just a really amazing experience for our 5th graders to go on this. This year we have 75 students and I believe 34 chaperones going. So I'll also take any questions if you have any.
Any questions? All right. Yeah, 5th grade camp was fun. My kids loved it too. So I'll take a motion. Colleen?
Move to approve the Clear Lake 5th grade camp field trip, September 19th through the 20th, 2024, as presented.
And do I have support? Anne? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next up on the agenda is our annual policy update, second reading. I know we had a couple strikes from that, so do you want to read it, Amanda, to make sure I get it right?
Yep, absolutely. We did pull 2 of those.
Yep.
So move to adopt policies 2203, 3104, 3107, 3108, 3116, 3303, 3403, 3406, 4204, 4214, 4216, 4217, 4221, 5104.01, 5201, 5209, 5307, 5308, 5401, 5402, 5403, 5404, 5406, 5410, 5411, 5418, 5419, 5507, 5602, 5603, 5702, 5703, 5704, 5705, 5712, and 5805 as presented.
Do I have support? James? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. It's been a lot of work for the policy committee, so I thank you guys for continuing to meet on a super regular basis. All right, next item on the agenda is annual policy updates, first reading. So we have a handful of others.
So these were the ones that we had discussed at our last policy meeting right before the original meeting, if you all remember, a couple weeks ago. We didn't get through all of them, so it is not as big of a mouthful. But they are moved on to our next meeting, which is going to be Thursday. So we will bring more back then. If you do have any questions on these, let us know. And I will go ahead and move right into the motion. Move to approve the first reading of policies 3102.01, 3106, 3201A, 3207, 3211, 3301, 3306, 3307, 4106, 4107, 4109, 5212, 5506, 5601, and 5709 as presented.
Do I have a support? James? Any other discussion?
Will those two that we crossed out, are you discussing those further in this review?
The two that we crossed out were from the last batch, and those were supposed to be intentionally left blank. And we found out through policy committee that there was, everything didn't seamlessly cross over when Vicky had left. So some of our .01 policies didn't quite make it as .01. And so we had to go back through all of the policies, and then some that were summer review, we were not adopting, and they made their way in. So we just took them back out because we originally had not adopted them on purpose.
All right,
And I think I need to reread that. 3201A is supposed to be intentionally left blank. Is that correct? So I think I need to reread that without 3201A, if that's correct, Kelly. Yeah. Okay. Take two. Thanks. Move to approve the first reading of policies 3102.01, 3106, 3207, 3211, 3301, 3306, 3307, 4106, 4107, 4109, 5212, 5506, 5601, and 5709 as presented.
okay. Do I have support for that motion? Sure. Colleen? Okay, so we had two motions on the table. The first one, all those in favor? The answer is no. Just in case you're wondering, we had to strike it. So for the first motion that was supported by James, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Nay. Good, motion does not carry. Second motion, read by Amanda, supported by Colleen with a strikeout of 3201A. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion carries. Thank you.
Sorry, Amanda, that's what I was saying to Aaron.
Yeah,
Oh, I saw you turn
That
and
one
look
was
at me like,
still on
wait,
the
what?
table, yeah.
Hey,
that's okay.
Can I do one thing before we start with curriculum?
Yeah,
Okay.
under board business.
Yep, it's board business. It's actually my honor to give Dr. Aaron Reese Award of Merit Certificate from the Michigan Association of School Boards for the Oxford Community Schools for everything that you've done for your continual education, not only here at the board, but your going up to Lansing and speaking with them and your intentional and continual education. It's listed on here as a minimum of 45 educational credits, but I know it's a lot more than that. So it's my honor to present this to you, and I really appreciate everything you've done.
Oh, thanks, Jane. You're gonna make me cry. It's an honor to do all the work that I do, so. All right, we'll just move past my emotions and go right to Anita. Sex ed.
That's a good subject to go into. All right, good evening again. In September, or no, it was actually end of August, I came before you and actually presented this slide, an update on the Sex Education Advisory Board. We had sent out applications to our community that were open from August 1st to August 16th. And I listed the policy that is attached to, and shared that we are essentially seeking to, some members are the same if they're a health education teacher, but mostly seeking to add parents and students to the advisory board. And so I'm providing an update today about where we landed. So we had 59 applicants altogether, between clergy, parents, medical professionals, students. So honestly, that's a very overwhelming response. Who knew all these people would be really interested in sex education? So from there, what we did after the applications closed, I worked with Kaylin, who's one of our administrative assistants. She's phenomenal. She color-coded everything and printed everything out on an 11 by 17 paper. And so we were able to see how many clergy applied, how many students applied, how many parents applied. And we came together in a public meeting on August 29, and our policy committee members, Amanda and Ann, were there to help select. We essentially assigned a number to each person, and when we were going through the applications, we really just referred to the number. And some of the considerations we were making is looking at what the answers were to their questions. They had key questions that they had to answer on the application. The definition of reproductive health and sex education in Oxford Community Schools. What are some of the key beliefs that they have around the subjects, and then what are some things that were important to them? And some people honestly shared a lot of very personal experiences. It was really impressive to see how vulnerable people were and shared some things with us that helped us to select them, essentially. So during the process, we looked at, diversity of opinions, experiences, and perspectives. So representation of the student population, general education, a special education. There has to be a pocket here that I'm stepping in. General education, special education, across the schools, seated, virtual, oval representation, elementary, middle school, high school, and then ensuring that we were following the law. So the law requires that the composition of the board is that at least half is not employed by the district. So the majority are parents who have kids in the district and are not employed by the district. And so we did that. We landed on a larger group. During our selection process, we did say that if there was a conflict of interest, as an example, with the selection committee, if I happened to have a conflict with one of the candidates, I took myself out of voting. Same thing with Amanda and same thing with Ann. If they knew someone, and they each did, they refrained from voting just to keep it fair and objective. So I wanted to make sure that we say that too. We narrowed it down to, it's a really large list. We added more parents than we originally were going for a couple of reasons. I think that, again, we wanted to make sure representation was pretty versatile and represented a variety of perspectives in schools. But also, if we're being honest, sometimes these committees, people like overcommit and maybe under-deliver on their attendance. So we try to ensure that we have a buffer. So if a couple parents, your parents, you have school stuff that come up, your kids might be sick and you can't come, we at least will be able to secure a large amount of people at the meeting. So this is the group. Everybody, once we selected, received an email from me saying that they've been selected and to let me know if they have any conflicts. And I did not, I had one person who said, I now have a conflict with one meeting. And I said, that's okay. As long as it doesn't become all the meetings. And then the two at the top are left blank because when this group gets together for their first meeting on October 16th, they will select as a team who of these parents will become the co-chair, with Melissa Matthew, who is the supervisor that was appointed by the state, and she's a teacher at the school. So this is a group that we're hoping that you will approve tonight to move forward so we can start planning our first meeting on October 16th.
Great. Thank you. Any questions from the board? So we have to make a motion to approve the Sex Ed Advisory Board committee members. Does not require board approval?
I believe it does. It's appointed by the board in our board policy.
Yeah. So,
Can we go up to 5420? I'm almost positive it said that we do. Yeah.
okay. Would you like
Well, I
to-
just wanted to say real quick before we go ahead and do that, but I will make a motion, that I really loved this process. And I thought that the collaborative nature of working together and all deciding up front how we were going to select and going through and really getting to know a lot of these applicants through their responses, I just really appreciate the way that we did this, and I look forward to the opportunity to do it again on the safety committee. So thank you. I think that it's going to be a successful committee.
I agree. Thank you for your participation.
So I'll wing it and move to approve the Sex Education Advisory Board as presented.
And do I get a support? Mike Whitney? Any other discussion? All right. Thank you guys for meeting and doing all of that work. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is Finance and Operations. Mr. Fitzgerald and Michelle, the OEIC update. It's okay. You have the best shoes always.
Good evening. We're here to do an update on what I refer to as actually the sub-projects of the main OEIC program. I'll give you some information in terms of status where we're at with the individual project piece, and everybody else will give you the fun side of the information about the classwork, kids actually being in the building, the main startup, and all the fun side of it. So from a parking lot point of view, you can see there's heavy equipment on the grounds. They're in the process of doing the work. We are, from a timeline perspective, expecting project complete for the parking lot by the end of this month. We did add a swale structure in terms of water management. That should still keep us within the same timeline, and there was a slight adjustment in terms of the funding, or the cost of it, which is more than covered by contingency, so there's no new money there. But that's going well. As you can see in the middle picture, the roof, the big blue tarp, that is in place from the perspective of a cautionary approach. From a timeline with the roof piece, we are expecting to be project completion in December. The timeline drag on that is this requires some state approvals for permitting. When we originally worked with the state, we used original drafting and original architectural design, stamped design plans going through the process, which should have been more than enough because we were actually doing a repair as opposed to a new design. We were building the trestles to match exactly what was there. The state, in its approach, said, nope, they want us to have the new designs done of pretty much the exact same thing, but stamped the current date and current architecture. So that is in the process piece now. That's going to add some timeline, like I said, pushing it into December. So anticipating potential weather issues, we've done a more securing of the roof so that can handle any potential snow, heavier weather, sleet, don't say sleet, snow. So in those timelines, that should all be covered, so that should be approached and taken care of with that. The truss manufacturer is literally waiting for the states to give the permit approval. Once that happens, they will put the trusses in production, they'll get them on site. The site contractor's been chomping at the bit to get going, and those pieces will come in line. So once the approval pieces, everything else should go fairly smoothly, knock wood. The roof piece, from the kitchen renovation point of view, similar in terms of where it's at. The design's done, the equipment understanding and selection's done. It now has to go to the state because it also touches a wall, electrical, and some grease traps and things like that in the actual area of the kitchen. That again will require more state approval. We're assuming a long lead time on that piece too. Maybe it'll go quicker, but we're taking a much more conservative approach on that. So we'd rather estimated approval time and come with a projected project approval targeting mid-February. Hopefully it'll be sooner, but we're hoping to under-promise, over-deliver on that piece. So again, the timelines for state approval are really what the biggest drags are. The rest of it is pretty much predictable in terms of how long lead time on equipment and things like that. But from that perspective, because we're still working in the kitchen area, the actual process of providing meals at the building, it's following the same process that's been in place for a long time with the OVA facilities that were at the plaza. There's an ordering process for all the meals going through the high school, and it's being brought over from that site. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to field them. If not, this is the good half.
The fun half.
The fun half.
The fun half. Do we have any questions before we move on to the second part? About this part? No? Okay. Whoops, wrong way. Sorry about that. So good news is that we welcomed our first students on August 22nd, and our teachers found this sign, and you'll see in some of the photos, it was the beginning of a new chapter. So my colleagues are here with me, Principal Bridges, Aletha, and Principal Pam from Loft, her new title. So we're just so happy to share out and show off. I think the thing that we want you to know is that we are so, so appreciative of all of your support for this new building. Being able to see the kids' faces, I can't even tell you what it means. You'll see when we get in, Aletha's going to talk a little bit about the Bridges experience, but just from my perspective with managing the building, to stand at that front door on the first day and the buses came, the looks on their faces, the awe. I'll read in a little bit. I have a text message. It's reflective of what we've seen on social media, just the wows and like, this is for us and we belong and we matter. So I'll turn it over to Mrs. Van Loosen to talk about Bridges.
Good evening. Yeah, so it's been a long time coming. As I said today in our ad team meeting, I have been in a temporary place. I started in 13-14, and it's been temporary. They were there 2 years, I think, prior to me. So this has been a long time coming. It's very exciting. The kids were just thrilled. New building, new furniture. They actually, the classrooms all have doors, and what I mean by that is our old space they shared. The 3 classrooms had like a door in between each one, so airspace was shared, and our 4th classroom was in the hallway. So it was just, they're so thrilled to have everything available, a cafeteria where they can eat as opposed to eating in the classroom. Food services and transportation has done an amazing job getting students to us. They come with breakfast on a cart every morning to make sure all the kids have food, and then they're able to order from the high school food, which is a little larger portions. We're looking forward to be able to spend the activities funds that was so generously donated to us last year by the board. We're waiting for some place to be able to store things before we start purchasing, but we, as you remember last year, $5,000 was given to us for activities. So soccer balls, bases to play whatever ball games we want to, maybe a basketball. So we haven't picked everything out yet, but we're also waiting for a place to be able to store them when the multipurpose room is done. Yeah, I don't know what else.
So
The first day.
Yeah. First
Oh, you
day.
have, okay.
Yeah, but it's pretty exciting. Our first day.
So this is the first day of school, the very first day of school, and our kids coming in. They were pretty excited about it. We do this is something that we put into place several years back. So the first day, we start on a late start schedule, and we do 8 to 10, 20 when classes start. The first part of the morning, we rotate through our classes and do a different activity, a get to know you. So we split the groups up, and then we split them up again so that they go to the next class with different kids. Because we're so small, 43, 45 kids, it's good to have them get to know one another as soon as possible so that everybody's comfortable. Everybody has somebody to eat lunch with. So yeah, it's great.
The funny story is the kids, we asked students, hey, what do you love about it? And the word on the street is they love the tile, the ombre tile in the bathroom. Like, it's really nice. They did this for us. So pretty cool stuff. Loft.
So as a reminder to the board and the community, LOFT is our adult transition program. So LOFT stands for Learning Opportunities for Tomorrow. Our students who are on a certificate of completion track, so our students with disabilities, are eligible to stay with us until age 26. So these are 18 to 26-year-old students who are working on pre-vocation skills, adult living, and employment skills, job training. So we have a couple partnerships throughout the community, including Oxford Open Handed, where our students stock their shelves. We work with the Fish Pantry on stocking their shelves as well. And then we're also working with the Downtown Association. And so last year, they were responsible for helping decorate downtown for fall and for Christmas. And they helped paint the trolley that you see in downtown Oxford. And then we also partner with Oakland Schools to cater some of their events. So they're getting settled in their space. As a reminder, they were previously housed in one classroom in the middle of the high school. So they essentially graduated high school, and then as adults, we're continuing to come back to this one classroom centralized in the high school. So this space for them is very special. They have 3 classrooms, and it is set up more for the adults, the young adults that they are. So here's just some fun pictures of them. They've been getting outside every day to do some recreation activities, so I was able to join them for yoga. So it's been great.
So I just have to say, every morning, one student does a sign. There's a little, like a whiteboard that sets, and she does the sign to welcome everybody in the morning. They have the cutest dog ever. So if you come, you have to meet her. Her name's Lady. It's really nice. We have like 3 dogs in the building regularly. And then Loft is beautiful. They have a large living area, a beautiful kitchen area. So my kids, I gave them a tour of the whole building, and they're like, well, we don't have a kitchen like this. And nice. Jeannie, who's adorable, is like, you can come visit us anytime. But it is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful space for the kids.
It is truly beautiful. So for the Oxford Virtual Academy, for us, it was especially wonderful because we lived in a plaza for so long. So hosting school in a plaza, in a parking lot with vape and different stores in the plaza was often challenging for me as a principal. So I'm just thrilled. Our teachers are thrilled, but our students are so thrilled. So this little family came in, they were new, getting their laptop, and babies came with them, and super proud. So that just epitomizes kind of the joy. And there's a picture of me with Jake, and our family's coming in, and our sweet little guy that every year gets a picture by the Portrait of a Graduate. He's quite a success story, Mr. James, and then our one of our fearless board members, and his children. And I would like to say thank you tonight because a month ago would have been August 10th, and I did have a moment of crying in my office when I was surrounded by boxes, and Colleen showed up, and Aaron showed up, and you showed up, and with kids, and we started unpacking, and we created Mount Cardboard in the middle, and it literally was a mountain of cardboard. But we did it. We pulled it off. Tanya would look at me and we'd be like, oh boy, are we going to do it right? Yeah, and we did it. So much to celebrate. And our families, the comments we're hearing because there's many, it's peaceful. There's serenity here. We feel welcomed. We feel like we matter to the district. We feel like we're family now, being embraced by the district rather than just off in these spots that are just kind of leftovers, So it's been really good. One of the moms came in, and I think I can remember exactly what she said, and I heard it went around social media, but she said it was so fun to come into this space, and it's new and fresh and just beautiful, and they made it for our kids. So bottom of my heart, from all of us, thank you so much for your support. We really do appreciate it. Any questions?
I think you
Tanya,
have more
do you have anything to
pictures.
add? What's that?
I said you have more pictures.
Oh, I do. That's right. Got it going. I'm so excited. Oh, yes. So this is fun. Yeah, more pictures, share time, food service. Oh my gosh, they've been amazing. We talked about them. They come over and literally the first day she's running back and forth to the car, smile on her face. So thank you, thank you. Next one, Rob and Courtney. I warned her. Could not have done it without them, right? The many, many meetings and furniture and this and that and Courtney, Rob. So super cool. They've been so helpful. So mission accomplished. And our staff is just thrilled. Yeah, the pictures say it all. So, and that's the thank you that I have for you. Thank you so much. Questions or?
I'll start with a comment. It was a Herculean effort after the fire delay to get you guys in there, both from finance, from our facility services, your staff. And yeah, we showed up and unpacked for a day. You guys did so much more, and the space is absolutely gorgeous. You guys designed it with the students in mind, and I loved walking through every part of that, and I think the kids that I brought with me to help mount cardboard might have been a little jealous that they're in seated classrooms this year and not at the other facility, so great work. It was a lot, and I know it was very stressful on you guys, and I hope you can breathe a little bit now that you're in the space. So,
We are. Thank you.
questions or comments from the remainder? Good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right. Next item, and John, you may not want to go too far just in case. We had a finance committee last Friday. It was a very productive committee, very busy committee. We are so excited to have Mr. Fitzgerald on board. I am just blown away is what I'll say. I left that meeting, I already told Amanda, like, you're going to love everything that's coming. So excited. So the first item, one of the things that we will really enjoy getting as a board, I can tell you that now, is just kind of the way that the board development of the budget and timeline is going to be presented, and the presentations of the budget. They're going to be married with executive summaries, more detail on changing laws that maybe affected certain areas. We had a lot of discussion about 31AA and the MIPSERS payment during this. We still don't know exactly how that's going to fold out. Again, legislation's in recess still. They come back tomorrow. There's been a lot of pressure on them to vote on a supplemental budget. Whether they'll do that or not is TBD. But how are we going to look at, what we budgeted for, which was an increase in foundation allowance, and not a huge change in 31AA, to $0 in foundation allowance increase, a humongous cut to 31AA, which is, as you would call, safety and security, but a change in MIPSERS and attribution, how that works, with some little tiny language at the bottom telling us how we can spend that money, very clear as mud. And so there's a lot of questions still out there, but as we go into our next fiscal cycle, after when we start budget development at the first of the year, we're going to start with a general presentation to the board in terms of how do school districts even receive money. A school district is not ran like a household budget. There are a lot of laws that regulate how we can and cannot spend money and where that money and source of revenue comes from, whether it's the state level, federal level, or local level, or grants. And then I think we agreed on each quarter there would be presentation to the board going through, especially because the board is a young board, we have a young superintendent, we have new administrators in the staff. We figured that regular updates would be something that we would push forward into the next calendar year as we go through that cycle. They will be comprehensive, they will be public-facing reports too, so it's not going to be something that's just we're seeing, of course, but you guys will really like them. He brought a couple examples from other districts to show Mike and Mike, I don't know if you have any comments, I was thoroughly impressed with them. I think they'll be a lot easier for a young board to navigate.
Yeah, I think, just what you're saying, I agree, and we talked about it, especially having a board. But in general, I mean, this is not something most of us are used to dealing with, even timelines.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it's just going to be really beneficial for us and as well as the community to see how that all works out.
Well, and understanding accrual-based accounting is important as well. For people who don't understand accrual-based accounting, it can feel very different and uncomfortable when things are being accrued on the books but not paid during invoices. So, in recognizing or realizing revenue before it hits our books because it's been promised to us by law, but it hasn't actually been deposited into our checking account. Which leads into our next discussion. One of the items that Mr. Fitzgerald brought forward as a consideration for the board, it's not for us to approve tonight, but just kind of some background in terms of what we'll be looking at is there's, I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's MILAF plus. Maybe you can remind me what the acronym is.
It's Michigan Liquid Asset Fund.
Yes.
Let me give a little quick background on the
Yeah,
fund piece.
please do. You could speak way more intelligently than I can about it, I promise.
I don't know about that, but the fund itself was created back in the 1980s. At the time, the banks were really taking advantage of school districts when it comes to the cost of actually having a bank account and doing the business with the bank. So a couple of school districts and a couple of the state organizations like MASB and MSBO got together and created this fund. It's technically called a local government investment pool. It works just like a mutual fund that invests in only $1 assets, so to speak. So it's very safe, very similar for the bulk of your regular cash investments. It does some other options too in terms of different investable opportunities if you've got a set amount of funding needed between paying off taxes, it's a bigger time frame. So it's got a lot of options. It'll really fit in well from a point of view of giving options for the district to have a different set of investments, and actually from a security point of view, having a separate place that's got district funds. So if there's ever an issue with the main operating bank of Oxford, we'll be able to make payroll with funding at the other site. So there's those kinds of considerations tied to it too.
So I think overall, Mike and I agreed at the time that we would feel comfortable with them bringing it forward to the full board, what this looks like. It's obviously not in this meeting. I think we decided sometime in October it would come, but essentially looking at another place to have some of our assets held. I think we're seeing more and more, when we talk about security, it's not just the bank, but also the school district. Cybersecurity is a real issue, and if all of our assets are in one bank, we could be in a pickle really quickly. So we want to make sure that we're being smart about our treasury structure and making sure that we are being thoughtful moving forward into the future. So this will come to the full board. It's not a Mike and I decision as the finance committee, but certainly we felt it was an important thing to come forward, and the rates on it were really reasonable. Any questions on those first two? I know I'm talking really fast, so, okay. Good. The next item that we discussed at the finance committee was bidding out our insurance. There are a couple other insurance pools in the state of Michigan. However, SETSEG has raised their rates on us significantly over the last couple years, up to 66%. Whether that is due to some of the decisions we've made here as a board or not is undetermined. They're going to use general language like the insurance companies use, that there's higher pays on claims, the pool's getting affected more, and some other language we often hear similar to, reminds me of every time I call, why is my car insurance going up when I'm such a great driver? It's because the pool itself is spending more money. I do think there may be some conversation that Oxford is paying more than others. But with that being said, we did allow John to then bring it to us in October as well. We're going to bid it out and see if one of the other pools in the state would be a better option or avenue for us in the long term, just because the rates have increased significantly since 2022, from 19% increases to 66% increases. It's quite significant.
I have a
question.
question on that, yeah, sorry. That just became effective July 1, so would we receive a refund? I mean, I know how my personal insurance works. Is it the same that we would receive a refund if we do switch insurance companies?
Yeah, it depends on the timing of, if and when we decide to move to another pool. If it's mid-year, there'd be a refund from SETAG. If it takes time and gets into spring, I would probably recommend that we just do a clean start July 1, this coming July 1. But it could be as soon as mid-year this year. It depends really how quickly the other pools can turn around with evaluation and quoting process.
Okay, thank you.
The other items that we talked about were the two items that proposed. One was the middle school update too, in terms of their cafeteria, and I think we're still on track. They're installing the equipment through the end of September. If you recall, we decided that the Finance Committee would also house some of the facility discussions until we had an actual project or a bond or something if we chose, and I want to say that because I know people misunderstand. Sometimes we're not asking for that. I'm just saying in the future, should there be a separate bond project, then we would have a separate facility committee of the board to help oversee some of that stuff. Until then, it is part of our finance committee structure. And the food service, we approved from their spend down balance, both the OEIC and the middle school. And so the middle school will be done at the end of September, and that was about $161,000. Remember, they're getting a dishwasher, which if you've ever met anybody in the food services that works there, they really love the idea of having a dishwasher. And then, of course, the fund spend down for the OIC, which we already touched on, and then some of the permitting issues that we saw with the roof that were unanticipated in our original timeline, that the state made us go back and get new architectural prints for a repair versus an entire rebuild, which was disappointing and put us behind schedule for that. The team did go and secure the roof more with plywood and tarping, so that way if this continues to go on through the months, we do know from time to time we get snow in November, and we could potentially have that, and if the roof's not done, we want to make sure what is there is as secured as possible. Any questions on that? The other thing we talked about from a facility standpoint was, sorry, you're fine, and this is just, is having a third-party company come in and do an evaluation of all of our facilities. We have some old buildings, we have some property that needs to be reviewed, and instead of having anecdotals where staff are saying this is broken or that is broken, we're gonna have a third-party company come in to do an evaluation so the facilities committee can help the board identify projects and help our engineering teams identify projects that need to be addressed quicker, and when, if we have to tip the scale on potentially asking for a sinking fund or other projects. This will give us a better timeline and push out too, but we have to be cognizant and realize that some of our facilities are extremely old. There are some buildings here that served as high schools back in the 50s, and now they're serving as elementary buildings. So, all right.
John, real quick. Did you get a chance to reach out to Massell or Middle City Middle City, the pools?
Yeah, I spoke with someone at Maisel, not yet Middle Cities. Maisel's looking into it already in terms of getting that ramped up. I've still got to find the rep for Maisel, or excuse me, Middle Cities.
And when did you say we can expect the first budget reports, starting on the quarterly?
John?
From a time perspective,
Probably January.
we can probably start up in January, February timeframe. We've got, I'll forward the planned budget schedule that we reviewed at the subcommittee for the entire board review. So that really lays out the timelines of the different pieces of them, and those things would come online.
Okay. In the meantime, would you mind sending the examples that you shared with Finance Committee with the rest of the board so that we can see what those look like and
Absolutely.
maybe provide feedback before January then?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, one of those, it will help to, I think, answer some questions in terms of when to expect reports. And so that way, one of the things we recognize is that having a younger board, we ask a lot of questions peppering in, and it would be nice to have timelines to say, these are the things, I know you're presenting in January, no rush today, but please bring this in January, so that way we feel comfortable with it, so. Good. All right. Anything else, Mike or John?
feel like I talked a lot.
I think that we already covered the other, John started with the parking lot roof and
Yep,
another item. So, yeah.
great. All right, any other questions from you guys? All right, moving on to unscheduled public comment. Kelly? You ready, James?
Yeah.
Danielle Krozak?
Good evening. I guess to start, regarding the SETSEG insurance. In June, the district wrote a check to SETSEG for $560,000. In July, 2 additional checks were written to SETSEG, one for $507 and then another for $5,000 for builders risk coverage. The $5,000 was for builders risk coverage for the high school and OEIC, which seems to be a gap in our insurance approach up until now. This brings the total for the 24-25 school year just over $1 million paid to SETSEG. That is a 157% increase over last year, where we paid $388,000. As a point of reference, Lake Orion District paid SETSEG $488,000 for this school year. It also included renovation coverage, as a side note, for all buildings in their district. So I'm raising this concern here in addition to my FOIA request that is still in process, because it is a significant expense that needs to be explained. What was the June $560,000 check for, basically? The budget was planned, discussed at numerous board meetings throughout May, June, and even early July. And this was never mentioned. Over $600,000 could go a long way to supporting our teachers and our students. So I am requesting a transparent and truthful explanation of this increase and what was the checks paid for. Regarding the resolution introduced recently, I appreciate the resolution coming forward. It's long overdue for this district to formally document a resolution calling for state mandatory threat and suicide assessments, immediate investigations following a tragedy, and the necessary state funding. I am concerned and skeptical of the deliberate and precise verbiage used, which potentially narrows the focus of the investigation to emergency response. It also comes across as the main driver for the resolution. Tate, Hannah, Justin, Madison, their families, along with all 1,600 staff and students and their families, terrorized on November 30th, are the reason to demand a real investigation and support legislative change. It's not worth debating or wordsmithing what was in the resolution at this point. What is important is your actions. Posting the resolution to the website is not enough. If the district is genuine in its intention to call for a complete investigation of November 30th, then please demand it, not from the state, from the Department of Justice, publicly and repeatedly until it happens.
Thank you, Danielle.
You have that power. Just one more sentence. For 1,015 days and counting, you have chosen not to use these powers. Without action, it is just words on a website and disingenuous. Thank you.
Marissa Prince?
Hi. I got the email tonight that these board meetings are no longer, we're not going to get emails anymore, like letting us know with the link because of message fatigue. So I don't know if parents have been like complaining about the emails or if we're talking about just in general, people get a lot of emails, but so I have 3 kids in the district at 3 different schools. I don't have message fatigue. So I like getting the reminders with the link. And I think these meetings are important, and I think we should keep sending those. So I'm not sure how that decision was made, but that's my feedback. And in particular, so a lot of people, you know, friends, they know that I come to these, so people come to me with questions and things. And so there's two things in particular that a lot of parents have been asking me about. So the first, and they're both high school. So the first is vaping and the vape detectors. Okay, so we got an email at the start of last year from Dr. Markovich telling us that we had these vape detectors in all the bathrooms that were functional. And I haven't been able to find out if they ever worked, or if they're working now, or what the plan is there. And parents are concerned about it, and they're wanting information about it. And the second is Hall Pass, which is a new program to the high school. I think the middle school's been using it for a while, but there are a lot of questions about it, and I don't think we've received any communication about it. And so I don't know, maybe some parents have message fatigue and, you know, they're like tired of getting emails, but I like learning what's going on in my kids' schools, and I like getting messages and reminders, and I think we should continue to send them. And if we're not gonna send it, we should send instructions to parents on how to subscribe to BoardBook, which is a nice service that sends you an agenda every time there's a meeting or a committee meeting. So that's another idea. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Item number 11 on the agenda is closed session. Can I get someone to read the motion for that? Colleen?
Sure thing. Move to meet in closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 8H, to consider attorney-written legal opinion, which is material exempt from disclosure by state and federal statute pursuant to MCL 15.268H.
Do I have support? James? Roll call vote, James?
Whitney?
Yes.
Summers, yes. Atchison?
Yes.
Aldred?
Yes.
McDonough?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes. All right, 7:53 PM, entering closed session. working. Sorry about that. We're back in open session. We have administrative clarification, none. Any other board member comments? All right, activities are listed on the agenda. Looking forward to another great week of school, Dr. Milligan. Thank you so much, and this meeting is adjourned 8:14 PM. Thank you. Where did our friend went?